and warm welcome to you on this lovely sunny day in the United Kingdom. Pardon me not having my tie, pardon me not having my jacket, but hey, I'm sure you want me comfortable than sweaty in my studio. So with that said, thank you to both of my co-hosts, and thank you to Brother Clarence, and thank you to Captain Dennis, who is also on the line, whom we're going to have this conversation today concerning not just the male's role in relationships, but what is the man's role generally speaking, right? So we want to have this discussion this evening. So let's welcome Brother Clarence. Warm welcome to Spiritual Injection, Clarence. How are you, sir?
I am good, my brother. God is good to me.
Yes, he is. So we're hoping that he'll be good to you to part with some advice today and some guidance for all of our males and our females who are listening today in regards to how to get the best out of a male, for him to be at his most productive, okay, and bring joy and happiness into his household or into the world or wherever he is. What advice would you give to women and men in regards to getting the best out of a man? Because is a man just naturally good, or does he have to be taught and trained?
No, living in the world is full of corruption.
Right.
So no one is naturally good.
Right.
However, if one clings to certain principles, then one can become good. I know we're speaking about relationships tonight, and there are certain qualities which one would expect in a man to build a solid, strong relationship, for instance. There must be trust. Trust is very, very important.
But trust is something that has to be earned, is it not? You can't just give trust. Trust has got to be earned, isn't it not? And what does trust look like to your employees versus a partner in life and versus other things? Because there's different levels of trust, is there not? Or is there just a blanket trust we're talking about here?
No, well, trust is built on honesty.
Right.
And if you're honest to yourself, to the people around you, whether it be your employer, whether it be your spouse, then that trust will be won.
Well, some people, Clarence, say that trust can be brutal. So maybe you don't like to hurt people. So sometimes people moderate the truth, because the truth sometimes is too much for many people to really accept. Okay, so it's not sometimes that people are actually being dishonest. They're actually maybe being compassionate because they know that this truth will crush somebody. So is there any room for that rationale?
Sorry, something seemed to have come over my
Yeah, I knew it would.
And that's because I did not mute my phone before.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, but basically trust is trust can be won. Because take a relationship, for instance. When trust is broken down in a relationship, it is the hardest thing to rebuild. Right?
Based upon how it's broken down and how one perceives a break of trust, if you will. Isn't that a matter of perception?
No, well, the most common thing is dishonesty. Right? Dishonesty insofar as other people enter in your relationship. And that is the most common thing in a situation when it comes to relationship, where a partner ends up with someone else and then the trust is broken down.
So why does that happen then, Clarence? What's the predicate for such?
Dishonesty, lustfulness, the nature of men and women too, but we're talking about men particularly here, because whatever happens with men can happen with women. But we're talking particularly about men here.
As we know.
Yeah, that's right. You know?
So what about, because you've mentioned some of the things that could be considered negative on the negative side. What about dissatisfaction?
Dissatisfaction in what way?
If somebody's dissatisfied and they have potential, like for instance, you may work for a company that gave you employment and they started you off and, you know, you've done reasonably well, but your gifts and your talents, you know, are way beyond the initial employer. So you may, you know, start looking for employment elsewhere to really bring out your gifts and your talents. So if you now are headhunted because somebody knows this is a very valuable man or a very valuable woman and make you an offer that will allow you to really manifest your gifts and your talents, is that being dishonest? Is that being disloyal?
No, not at all, because I have been through such a situation.
So could you be considered dishonest and disloyal?
No, that is not considered dishonest at all, because everyone is looking for the best situation in life.
Right. So therefore, a man or a woman could be saddled with someone they call their teenage sweethearts, and then they outgrow, or they both grow in different directions. So would you say then, you know, faced with situations like that where people don't necessarily aspire to the same things once they mature, okay, because they could have met when they were very young and innocent, okay? What would you say about a situation such as that?
Yes, well, you see, a lot of times when you meet a partner, right? In many cases, it is two strangers meeting for the first time.
Right.
And some people confuse the emotions with love and all different sorts of things. But in reality, love is a thing that grows. It is not something that comes instantly, because it grows by getting to know each other, getting molded into each other.
When you say molded into each other, what are we talking about? What kind of mold?
When to get molded into each other, it means that as time goes on, you get to know each other better. You get to know.
Pardon me, I'm in a combative mood today.
Yeah, go on.
Captain Dennis, are you on the line? So come in. So give Dennis, Captain Dennis, who's got Hakeem as so give brother a co-host status. But back to your point in regards to being molded, okay? Now, young people are usually fused together, and they usually come together in what you commonly call relationships based upon a sex drive, okay?
Yeah.
Young people reach the age of adolescence, if you will, or what we call maturity, okay? And a drive, a sex drive develops. And in a society in which we live, that drive is somewhat encouraged, okay?
Yeah.
It's invoked before its time nowadays, okay? So this is a drive that man has, woman has. But unfortunately, the society directs that drive towards a member of the opposite sex when you're thinking right. Yes? But remember, it's a drive, okay? So because of the misuse, I would have thought, of the sex drive, it leads man and woman to enter into relationships before they are mentally, psychologically, and spiritually mature enough to handle a relationship where that drive could be directed into passing your exams, into starting a business, okay, and into exploring the world, because it's a drive. But we're being driven towards relationships, one with another, that we are far too immature to really handle. What would you say to that rationale?
No, I quite agree with that. And that is what determines whether that relationship builds and become a thing of becomes a lasting relationship. Because in many situations, it does not. That drive fades away, people separate and go their separate ways. But in order for that to build, there are a number of other qualities that must come in: commitment, understanding, communication, appreciation for each other, honesty, compromise, all those things comes in to build that relationship that will cement it into a long-lasting relationship.
But isn't the problem, Clarence, that many people just want to stay together long, but ain't really achieving nothing? Mm-hmm. Like, so what's the point of being with someone long and you ain't achieving no goals? Is there any
No, there is no point in that at all, because you must understand that a relationship which mature into a strong marriage and into family building is one where two people becomes, I use the word, molded into each other and become an assistant to each other. Right? So it is no longer a one-way street. It is a balanced relationship where both people are working to enhance each other's ability.
Depending upon what those abilities are, though, right?
Yes, it depends on that. Yeah. Now, a lot of a long-term relationship never lasts because there's none of those qualities that we are too impatient. We do not understand each other. We do not communicate with each other. Right. We do not have that commitment, because once children enter the relationship, there's another commitment of bringing up your children. And then we must be an example for our children.
Right.
Right? So therefore, there have to be some really inbuilt qualities which will ensure that our children has the guidance by a unified partnership, which makes us one. You see where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I thank you for that, for sharing that. I want to introduce Captain Dennis, who's been training men for over 40 years. That's a long time to be training men. So Captain Dennis, please chime in on this. First, welcome to Spiritual Injection, my brother.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Peace. Yes, sir. We can hear you nice and clear.
Okay, well, first and foremost, giving honor and praise to God, who's the head of my life, for giving me another chance that I may be able to correct yesterday's mistakes.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you, Brother Minister Hakeem, for giving me this great opportunity to come on and to be a part of this, I think, very timely discussion. My brother, Clarence, I love your words, my dear brother, and I think you absolutely, what you were saying was right on. You know, the sad thing about any relationship is it never starts off correct. And the only reason is, like Minister Hakeem said, we're approaching each other with a more lustful heart than a more loving heart. I love the Nation of Islam because we have what you call courtship. Now, some people would say, well, that's old-fashioned courtship. What do you mean courtship? Well, if a sister is interested in a brother or a brother interested in a sister, look at this. I want to show you the wisdom of Mr. Muhammad, if you allow me a few minutes, please. The brother would go to the local captain. In the case of the UK, my great brother, Captain Jeffrey, I've seen you with your beautiful face, Big Cap. But anyway,
see you, Big D.
He would go to the captain because the captain knows something about that man. That man came in the ranks. The captain knew his past experience. The captain knew if he financially stable to be able to handle a relationship. That captain know if that man is still married or came out of a marriage situation. So the captain pretty much knows something about that man. So the man goes to the captain and said, I'm interested in Sister Amina, Brother Captain. That Sister Amina is a very beautiful woman. She have her own business. She's single. She's doing well. And the captain, oh, do we have an Amina on there? Well, anyway, and the captain says to the brother, listen, my brother, you're not prepared to get in any relationship right now. You only been in the ranks for X, Y, and Z. You're still coming through a bad divorce. I think, you need to give yourself some time. Plus, you don't have a job. So that is very crucial. Now, that's the beauty.
But Captain Dennis,
because
Captain Dennis,
huh? Yes.
Because the brother's gonna say, I love her. Okay? I love her, Brother Cap. I love her. And you're gonna look in that man's eyes and he's gonna well up and he's gonna say he loves the sister. So
well,
where do we go from here?
That's a good one. Then we have to call the investigator. How can
Yeah,
am I right, Buck Cap? How can you love a sister that you ain't even supposed to be involved with? Have you been sneaking around at night? Y'all have been having a little night visits? How can you love a sister that you ain't supposed to know? If you know her, you know her from the march, you see her, you get some link of sister. That's how you don't love somebody less. So that alone show you he's really not ready.
But imagine we're in the church, Captain D. We're in
the church. Now in the Christian world,
right.
in the Christian world, okay. In the Christian
and my brother,
world. Yes.
That is the point, the reason why I said that love grows. Most people confuse love with lust and infatuation and many other things.
That's right.
Love is grows when you get to know someone better.
Brother Clarence, you ain't got no disagreement. I agree with you. What Minister Hakeem is saying, I think he has to be the advocate. He has to play, as they say, the devil advocate, because we have people who think that way.
Right.
And of course, we have to address, we are very intelligent men to know, but we're dealing with a people that have been given false information. They've been taught wrong. They've been raised wrong. They've been given a false understanding of themselves, or they don't have a knowledge of themselves. So what the minister is asking, which is a good point. Now, if you're in the church and you say you love her, then love is an action. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, you can't, love is not a word, love is an action. You have to back your love with action. Now, let me say this, the minister asked me this question because I think it's very important for the women on here. Brother Hakeem, the first thing we have to define, before we even talk about a man's role, we got to define the definition of a man.
Right.
That's where we have to be very clear, because my definition of a man may not be Clarence's definition of a man, and every brother on their definition of a man. And wait a minute, it most certainly may not be the women's definition of a man. Right. So in order for us to be very clear on man's role, we have to be able to define what the word man means.
All right.
And I don't know.
Ask you to pause there. So I got my two co-hosts, Sister Tara and Sister Sylvina. Okay, now these are two females. Okay, so I want you to tell me, give me a general appreciation of how you see what a man is. What's a man to you or to the average woman who you know? What are women looking for out there within your circle of, exposure, good, bad, like the whole mix? Just give us a flavor of what you believe most women, or how most women see a man. What's a man to the average Black woman?
Oh, good. This is a terrible question.
No, it's a good question.
I know people who had a list and are like, oh, they need to be 6'5" and make 6 figures and like all these things. And then you're like, well, what do you bring to the table? They don't have any of the stuff that they're talking about. But for the most part, a lot of females that I know, they look at superficial things until they get older.
Right.
And realize that that's not what they need to be looking at. Right. So that's a horrible question. But for me, they number one have to be intelligent. That's the first thing. Number one, God-fearing.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they have to be intelligent. They have to be able to teach me something. Oh, am I talking with an attitude? I'm sorry. And they have to have goals, aspirations. They have to have a list of things they want to accomplish that I could work with them to accomplish.
Right.
And not just Netflixing and chilling.
Right. Is that the consensus of most women that you know?
I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
Some of them, yes, but not all. I still have people who, you know, I have some people that I know who still think like teenagers.
Right.
And if they see somebody that's 6'5" or taller and dark skin and and all, that's the first thing they look at. So that still happens with women above 20.
Well, nothing wrong with those things, but
It's nothing wrong.
They're gonna come down to at least 6'1".
And they have to be able to string the sentence together.
Okay. So Sylvina, what's your take on this? Because Captain Dennis said the first thing is to define what a man is. Okay. So before I go back to him, I want you to give us some perspective on
Is
that.
that Rowena?
I think that.
Can you hear me?
Can you mute your mic, please?
Yeah, mute your mic for now, please.
The common perception of what a man is from amongst the people I know and respect, you know, company, fun, you know, protector, but not in a protector in terms of, you know, if anyone troubles me, you know, that kind of protector, like, you know, physically. Well connected, if I need something, you know, someone, or if something's broken, you can deal with it, you know. Yeah, you know, you'd like a man to be able to introduce you to things, but again, it doesn't have to be anything great. You know, it could, you know, it's just, we're generally impressed by being taught things that are quite rudimentary and simple. Money is up there, but resources will be, you know, a fair substitute for money. If you haven't got money, you know, as long as you're resourceful and you can bring something that I never had when I met you, regardless of as to whether it improves my overall life standard, if it eases just a little pocket of stress I have in, you know, in my life, generally, you know, women will accept that. And women see men as hard work and accept that. They accept that, you know. Yeah, they accept that, and it's not from conversation, it's not hard work based upon, you know, a past of a proven track record. It's just, I'm expecting it to be hard work, and I'll take the bumps and the knocks as we go. That's the general perception of what a man is.
Okay, so Captain Dennis, so we were just getting some perspective on a male from a female, or a man from a female's perspective. So go to the heart of what we're discussing here. What is a man from your vantage point?
Okay, good. The sisters, both of them, they added which aspects of a man, but they had customized him.
Right.
Each one of them customized their man. One wanted 6'3", the other one made, I can deal with a 5'4". One said he could be car scanner. You know, I mean, they was customizing the man. One said all he has to do is X, Y, and Z. You know, a dope dealer can provide that money. That right. So let's break it down to the real 5 principles that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. What is a man? Let's deal with that, and then we work from that. A man is, wait, you ready there? Provider. Yes. Provider. Man is, ready for this one, protector. All right. Mm-hmm. Man is a maintainer. Hello. Mm-hmm. Man is a sustainer. All right. And man is responsible. All right. Now, those are the 5 criteria by which you should choose a man. If he can't provide, protect, maintain, sustain, and be responsible, I'm sorry, leave him alone. Now, a maintainer, provider, but then now, what I just described to you, sisters, is God.
You sure did.
I just described you God. Now that we know that this is the greatest way that we can know what a man is in the book of Genesis.
Right.
The book of Genesis created man in his likeness and after his image. So everything I've shown you now let's go to what we're talking about, a man's responsible. Now, I have been married for over 25 years. This is sisters, and I know y'all gonna like this part. See, my wife don't pay no bills. I do.
Right.
My wife don't have to do nothing but be my wife. I'm the provider. I'm the maintainer. I'm the sustainer. I'm the protector. And I'm showing up a very responsible person.
Brother
She don't have bills.
we got a problem there. We got a problem there because nowadays women want to be providers. They want to protect themselves. They want to maintain themselves. They want to sustain themselves, and they want to appear publicly as being responsible.
So I don't think, listen, that's an exception to the rule, brother minister. There are women like that, but the majority of the women, they want with that sister just because when she wanted, if she, now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the home is the woman's base, but not necessarily their place. Right. Now my wife works. Now she do work. She works. But the money she get takes care of her nails and her hair. Maybe, you know, that's what you want. Take care of yourself, sweetheart. I got this. Now, we've always been taught you got to pay the cost to be the boss. Right. Now, because I do that, sisters, and you know this, because I'm taking care of my business as a man, I don't want to come home and smell no Clorox. Right. Come to that door, I want to smell that Bing soup, and I want to, man, look here. And that's the benefit. I do my job, she do her job, and there's a great benefit. Now, if I did fall short, the Quran called her help me. So if I fell short one day and I see I got all the bills covered, but I missed one, and she say, honey, I got a few dollars. Can you use it? All right, baby, you know I don't like to take a penny from you, but go ahead and give it to me. I give it right back to you. But the bottom line, I'd like to make sure that I am a man because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan is my example. And I try to live up to that example. And I know, let me say this about these sisters, Brother Minister, and they know. They like a man to take care of them. Now, there is a new generation of women, but they can't find the real kind of men that would be able to provide, sustain, maintain. The brothers, listen, the brothers today, man, look at here. Most of them are not married. Most of them, they providers, but they providing for that pit bull. What do they maintain? They're in the basement of their mama. What is they taking care of? They don't have nothing but throwback jerseys and sneakers. That's all they maintain and providing. Today, women want real men, and we train them in the nation. Sisters, y'all know those in the nation, but those who not, sister, when that man comes into the nation, he come in the nation tore up from the floor up. Our job is to get him prepared that one day he will become a husband to one of these beautiful women. And look what the word husband means. Brother Hakeem, the word husband means, look at this, keeper of the garden and one who toils the soil. Ooh, ooh. Keeper of the garden and one who toils the soil. That's what we have to do. You the garden of God. Right. And so from you, we get everything that exists. So we have to not only keep of it, but we have to keep, like the sister said, take you and put in you and take you to the next level in life. What our women want, they want men to take up to the next level. All right. I can't sit there and plant potatoes in my wife's head, and one day I see tomatoes. They plant no tomatoes. Somebody been planting in my garden. Right, right. So I'm going to ask this question, Captain Dennis. I'm going to ask this question, to Brother Clarence and my co-host, and I'm going to come back to you. So based upon what Captain Dennis just said and giving us those 5 principles, provider, protector, maintainer, sustainer, and being responsible, is Tina Turner now engaged when she says, what's love got to do with it? Is she engaged? Is she engaged? Because the way how most people would define love, it don't have nothing to do with those principles that he mentioned.
So is she engaged, Clarence?
Well, I don't go by anything Tina says. I go by the word of God.
However, she could say something that needs to serve as a stress for the word of God. So how are we defining love? Because most people, as she said, she saw love as a sweet old-fashioned love song, something muggy and something, you know, that just sounds good, may look good, but was substanceless. So what Captain mentioned was substance, okay? So how do you square what he says with the way how we see LOVE?
You see, the way Captain described love is precisely how I would describe love and the duties of a man.
Right.
Because going with all that, a man is head of his family, but it does not mean he should dominate his partner to a level where he abuses her.
Right.
So therefore, there have to be a level of compromise, a level of understanding, a level of communication, which means that we as a couple becomes one and we're raising our family together as one.
Right. So Sister Tara then, so if a man, as the captain mentioned, is providing, protecting, maintaining, sustaining, and acting in a responsible way, could he not use that as a status symbol to stymie the qualities and the abilities of the woman? And isn't this the reason why many women are pushing back on this? Because they don't like being quote unquote dominated and being made to feel as if they can't do these things for themselves.
No, but remember I said, you're head of the family, but you should not be dominating.
Right.
Dominating means you do not use, you're not a chauvinist.
Right.
So therefore, when there's something to be done, I discuss it with my wife.
Right.
We discuss it and we come to a common understanding of how it will be done.
Right.
Though
Okay.
I will take the lead, I will not impose upon her my own feeling on what should be done.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that is where that's where a lot of relationships break down, that there's no communication.
Right.
There's no understanding. There's no reasoning together to get to a conclusion.
Right. Very good. Thank you for that. How do you see this, Sister Tara, Sister Sylvina? Because obviously there are many women who are very like, oh, you know, I don't want anybody paying for all of this, and because I want to maintain my independence, because it looks like someone's trying to enslave me. You know what I mean? To control me. And Beyonce set us all free. Do you understand? So how do we contextualize this?
Well, it's been my experience that women who think like that have been in relationships prior where things have happened, where the man controlled the purse strings, so therefore he controlled what she did. But for me personally, I'm not one of those women who, even though, you know, I can take care of myself, I'm not one of those women who like, I don't need a man. I'm not one of those people. I do feel that women need to feel secure, but men also need to feel secure in that they can provide, be the provider, protector, and everything else, but understand that they don't rule over the woman that's in their life. But I think that comes with the courting, that comes with understanding and getting to know people and not just jumping into a relationship.
Right. Thank you for that, Sister Tara. But Sylvina, is this not seen as old-fashioned, man? This is old-fashioned. When you're talking about courting and paying my bills and old-fashioned, you understand? New kind of group of people, young people, don't think like their parents. You know, we need to do this thing differently. Isn't that the consensus out here?
It is. I also think it's a defense mechanism because, like Captain says, the majority of women do want that. I think, yes, you know, many women may have experienced that dominance in terms of he controls everything, but that's the role that we assume. If you assume that role, then of course, then, you know, you've handed that over. But the fact that someone's providing for you in all those ways should actually free you up to, if you take up, because women will do that. Women will allow the man to provide in all these different ways and do nothing. And of course, in terms of developing and, as a couple, you've got to bring something to the table too, other than food, right? And whatever else, you have in your possession. So, in terms of in terms of not assuming the role of a daughter and making sure you maintain that wife status, you have to spring from the woman. I do think it's seen as I said, old-fashioned. However, it's a defense mechanism, because there was a point, the shift between no good men being out there and now actually, no, I don't need a good man, meaning they can fulfill all these criteria. Now it's actually, okay, being as there's no men that can fulfill this criteria, we'll take the men, I'll take care of this criteria, and I'll just have a man for all the other things. And I think that's where we are right now.
Right. So, Captain Dennis, that being said, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Go ahead, Brahman.
That being said, that the way or the state in which we find ourselves and the society seems to be really anti a strong man, and the society generally will do all that it can to prevent men from being in the position wherein they can fulfill their God-given responsibilities. Now, one of the things I was looking at earlier, brother, in regards to the responsibility of the male and what makes a strong male, what would you say concerning men who are somewhat perpetually single and who have means, and men who don't seem to be moving even in the direction of having a public relationship by way of even getting married, even if it doesn't work 100%? What would you say about a whole cadre of men who are in their 30s, 40s and getting into their 50s and claim to know God and claim, Captain Dennis, to know God, but have never been married? What would you say? What advice would you give if any such man is on this line?
Well, let me say this, Brother Minister. Number one, those kind of men, in my humble opinion, become intimidated by today's Black women, or today's women, excuse me. The women today, yes, they're very forthgoing, they're very dominant in their attitude, but because they are looking in a society where they don't see that kind of provider, protector, maintainer, sustainer, one to respond. So they have to, they have to put on that hard face. So what we're looking at is not a feminine woman no more. We're looking at a very more masculine woman. She's not looking at a masculine man no more. She's looking at a more feminine man. So we have allowed the society to turn us upside down and inside out. So when you see a man have gone that long and he's not married, we have to question that in the nation. Are you not one, brother? Because you can't even be a man until you get a woman. You can't be defined as a man. Oh, I mean, no, sir. See, we define you as a man based upon how you act in a marriage. Are you a good maintainer, provider, protector, sustainer? And that's the criteria by which we measure you. But how can we measure you? You ain't in no relationship. So that means you're kind of a man. You ain't the man.
You man-ish? Did you say man-ish?
Yeah, man-ish. So wait a minute. So I can say I'm a man. Everybody on here can say they're a man. But you know what, Brother Hakeem? It ain't till a woman say you're a man.
Right.
Because that makes me feel good when my wife sits and says, no, my husband's a man now. Now he's a man.
And then and worse if she says he's a man's man too, right?
Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you something. I want to say this to you sisters. Respect my wife's mind. I like what Brother Clint, I don't dominate her. Because if I did, then she can't be honest with me. She's able to see the enemy around me that I don't even see sometimes. She gives me advice, and when I ignore that advice, I wind up falling in the ditch. So I recognize her value, and I try by the grace of God to realize that she is a co-creator of God. How dare me to abuse her? When I abuse my wife, I'm abusing myself. But I'm saying that there are good men out there. Let me say this to you, sisters. If a man's a maintainer, provider, sustainer, and protector, and respond, but he ain't got no teeth, come on, sister. Well, look at him. But he's all the other five. So go to the dentist and get him some teeth. If the man ain't let appearance and looks become a deterrent by which you can find that. Because if he's covering all those other bases, get past that. He ain't got no baby hair. He's not bow-legged and he got dimple. Get out of that crazy. He got good hair. Look at you, have allowed the world have defined you with a good. Now ain't nothing wrong with one a good-looking man, and that's the same way with you women.
Tell me
You're a little
this.
overweight. He's a little overweight.
Tell
But
me
it
this.
goes both ways.
Tell me this.
We got
Two
to
things.
look beyond the skin. See, beauty's on the skin deep. Yeah. Beauty's on the skin deep. Oh, yeah.
Tell me this. Tell me this. Two things I wanted to mention to you, because we're talking here about, how to prepare a man and what is a man, and a worthy man for a woman today. Do you think, Captain Dennis, because of the lack of, and Brother Clarence, because of the lack of men who are standing up to actually engage in a responsible relationship, get married, do you think that men, brothers, get more hurt in a relationship than women, where women used to be the ones who would say, I would never get married again if marriage don't work? Are you finding now that men who are just in a general relationship, not even getting married, but if they got married and get divorced, are you not hearing that most men will say that I would never get married again? Or if they're in a relationship, they're very reluctant to go back into another relationship because they're very hurt. Are you experiencing that?
Go ahead, Brother Clarence.
Yeah, I would say if I experience that, I will give a different advice to that man. Because you see, part of the biggest problem we have in society today between man and woman is a created situation where society is designed to pull people apart rather than to mold them together.
Right. Yes.
Right. And therefore, the foundation for man have been laid from the creation of the earth. Right. So when you talk about being old-timeish, if I want to be strong in my relationship, I must be old-timeish, because that is where my principles are derived from. Because if I look at the modern world is built upon a lot of complication, which will create problems in my relationship.
Right.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. So tell me this, Clarence. So when Captain Dennis mentioned about, sometimes people are very miserable, they got miserable looks and been through bad experiences, you would have thought that if somebody has been through good experiences, that they can draw on the good experiences that they have. It might not have been all rosy, but if they've been in a loving relationship at any time in their life, should we not wear the love that we have experienced in life on our face as opposed to the disappointment?
Yes, but you see, a lot of times we do not examine our lives totally. When we fail, we don't even consider where we have failed. We'll walk away from a relationship and make the same mistake in another.
Yeah, but if I'm sifting something, okay, and I've had bad experience and I've had good experience, should my efforts not be to build on the good experience as opposed to dwelling in the bad experience?
That is correct. You should cling to what good and build upon that. But you should also learn from the bad experience to make sure you don't make the same mistakes again.
But isn't that the problem? That we're too focused on not repeating the problem again. So everybody who we meet, has some kind of, inclination towards the problem. There's something there that reminds me of what mashed up my life. You understand? A little trait there. So therefore, we cast everybody or paint everybody with that brush because we're settling on the poor part of that person, as opposed to looking for the good and investing in the good and building on it. We're getting deterred by the negative experience that we had and using that as a yardstick to determine or to determine whether, or not how effectively we can avoid that happening in our lives again. Isn't that the problem? We're focused on the negative rather than building upon the positive.
That is quite true. Most people focus on the negative. But I say, where is the element of maturity? When I was young, I made many mistakes. I liked girls, not because I was in love with them, but because I had all kinds of fantasies about girls. As I matured into a man, I wanted a wife. And so I cling to a woman based on different principles to where I was as a youth.
Sure. So Sister Sylvina.
Yeah, with what you said with regards to, cling on to bad experiences, I feel like many people focus on blame. I think focus on blame. And when you focus on blame, you hold certain things up in your heart because as far as you're concerned, they've done this, they've done that. But when you, and I think it was mentioned previously, just look and okay, how could I, what red lights, what red flags did I miss? Because there's always some, right? There's always some, and whether it's summer that made you miss them, or some other distraction, they're always there. And I think looking at it like that and just admitting that either you weren't ready, you weren't experienced enough, you weren't mature enough, enables you to bounce back, enables from anything actually, not outside of relationships, from anything, and it allows you to have the optimism. When you're focusing on blame and the fact that there were no signs that you missed, and how would you then see the signs in another person if you haven't evaluated what you saw and didn't act upon with the person that may have done you wrong?
Right. So I'm going to try and crystallize this conversation now and bring it to a head. So Captain Dennis, we discussed, the principles of what is a man's role in a successful relationship. Now that we've had this general discussion and you've got a real taste of where we're coming from, because we're looking at universal principles. You're in the US, I'm here in London, Sister Tara's in the UAE, and others are in different parts of the world. So by way of core principles and the role that we need to assume today, based upon living in unprecedented times, okay? 2023. What kind of character do we need to have in order to get us through this trying time and pool our resources and come together, male and female? What kind of role and responsibilities do we as men need to assume today for this hour in which we're living in?
Brother Minister, that's a loaded question. I'm gonna try to give it a good shot. There is no question what Brother Clarence said. In order for us to maneuver through these choppy waters of the world, we have to be spiritually based. There's no way we could do it without God. Anybody think they can get through life without God, they lost their minds. Exactly. We have to have a very strong, listen to me, a strong spiritual base. I didn't say religious base. I didn't, let me be very clear. Religion is man-made, spiritual is God. Everyone around the world is spiritual. We have to have it now. With that being said, we have to be, everything that we have in common on this line is social media. Right. Social media is the new church. It is the new mosque. It is the new influence over particularly our youth. But between these movies, Atlantic Housewives, we don't have a knowledge of ourselves, so we allow social media shape our thinking, which we are screwed up. At the same time, Brother Minister, it's very important that we are very clear on what we want. Remember, sisters, God gave you 6 cents and he gave the man 5. Well, why did he give you 6 cents? Because you're a mother. He gave you an extra sense to be able to see danger before danger get around you. You're able to see harm. So even when you choose a man, you already know if he's what you want or if he's not what you want. You already know that.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about our women today, they have dropped their standards because every time the alarm go off, the red flag go off, they said, if I keep letting the red, I ain't gonna never have a man. So you know what they do? It's like the smoke detector. They take the battery out. I don't want to hear the alarm.
So Captain Dennis, on that wise, what effect does that have on the growth and the development of the male if the woman is dropping her standards, bearing in mind that a nation cannot rise any higher than the standard that the woman sets?
When she do that, brother minister, oh man, you got to continue this down the road. See, this is why our community is messed up. This is the very thing that leads to gun violence, teenage pregnancy. All that we talking about, we're talking about the beginning of the deterioration of the Black family. Because the deterioration began because she don't know me, I don't know her. She have dropped her standard, and now I don't get a woman with high standard, but then we ain't got no standard either. So we go after the Flossie Mae. So we don't want no woman that's going to talk back to us. And some men like women like that, you know. And so the sad part, we have to be able to get our spiritual base. Now we don't say go back to our culture because we had our culture destroyed, but create a new culture where we have a more healthy relationship between you preach every Sunday, Brother Minister Hakeem, and you are the great example, in my opinion. Those who represent the nation are great examples of men, and the sisters are great example of women. We don't have it totally together because we still have divorces in the nation. But at the meantime, we are more better off than what we see in the world. We got to work on some things. But I think, Brother Minister, this is a continuation. I would love, I mean, there's so much I want to say. I want to talk about, you know, if you don't mind, but man, I would love this because we can't exhaust this.
Right.
You know?
There's a particular point I want to drive at before we conclude. We've only got a few more minutes. And it's good that it's short and sweet. You know, it's good that it is that way. Because I wanted to talk to you and Clarence and engage my sisters also in this very important question to me, Brother Captain and Brother Clarence and my sisters. And those of you in the listening audience, you'll get an opportunity to engage with questions. Just put them in the chat and we will pick them up for now. But I wanted to speak about when we were young, Brother Clarence and Captain Dennis, as men naturally, when they're young, they live for to impress women, okay? We live for that when we're teenagers. What we buy, how we cut our hair, how we dress, what we drive, all of that, I don't care what anybody says, is designed towards impressing a woman. We mature and we have higher reasons later on down the road. However, we always want to appear before women as progressive, okay? As being worthy of her attention. Now, when we stop trying to impress women, isn't that the beginning of the end, Captain Dennis and Brother Clarence? Isn't that the beginning?
Brother Minister, right quick. In the animal world, it is the male, like you said, who tried to get the traction of the female in the animal world. Right. She's less attractive. The peacock is the male. The lion has the male. So the role has flipped. She's doing everything to attract us. Right. And I like what you said. You're right. I dress, if I put some cologne on, right, I'm not trying to get the brothers to say, damn, Cap, you smell good. Wait, brother. If one of the soldiers say, Cap, you smell good, I'm attracting the wrong species. I need to put some skunk piss on, partner. I'm not trying to draw. No, man, I'm drawing the wrong species. So you're absolutely right. It is the nature of the man to become attractive, because that's the natural way. We supposed to be the man. She is the booty. She's the pride. You look at the animal world. They don't pay no attention. These dudes out here, these dudes run. These two bulls is fighting to death. She ain't paying no attention to them because the victor gets the booty, not the but the spoil. That's what I mean. Come on, y'all stay with me now.
I'm gonna leave you out there with that one, bro.
But Cap, help me out here, bro. Cap. Help me out, bro. Cap. That's not the spoils of war. She don't want the weak one.
No, the benefits of competition.
There you go. But the women, you finding love in all the wrong places. Where's she gonna go? The bar? The club?
So you said I got a most honorable Elijah Muhammad on you, put that in that fine language. Look, Captain Dennis, I really want you to indulge me on this, because if we loved our women the way how we should, and Brother Clarence, would we not be greater achievers as men?
No question.
Most certainly.
And are we not, where this thing has gone perverse, is it not because we are competing with another man as opposed to achieving so that we can have a community that we own? Because if I'm building for the love of my woman, then I'm going to build business, I'm going to be entrepreneurial, I'm going to be whatever I need to be in order to ensure that when she has my children, she has a school that she can go to. When she has my children and we need to go out, she has a nice clean car to go in. She has VIP tickets. She has first class accommodation on a plane or premium economy or whatever the case may be. But I'm striving hard to upgrade her in everything that she wants to do or she wants to be a part of. If we're gonna go and eat, we're not going to Nando's. We're gonna go somewhere really fine. And the whole objective of what I'm doing is to make sure that she has the best standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
And she's bringing out the best. She's bringing out the best in me.
Because she's making you know that she's worthy of these sacrifices.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you say to her, we're going out tonight, she's not coming out in leggings and like Lululemon. Do you understand? She's gonna dress, and she actually will have what do you call it? What's those tables called where women sit in front of the makeup table? What's it called?
A dressing table. A
dressing table, right? Where she actually wants to make sure that because she's going out with you, she wants to ensure that she makes a maximum effort, okay? Because you are progressive and you're progressive for her elevation.
That is absolutely so bad, brother. But you see, we must never fall away from our spiritual connection, because what is the purpose of a man and a woman coming together in the first place? It is not because of lust. It is not because of fantasies and all the things that attract man towards a woman. It is about raising a family. And in raising a family, you want to raise your family with certain key principles. You want to see your sons and your daughters grow up as steadfast men and women in the world. And therefore, like Jesus Christ is my example, I must be an example to my children.
So tell me this, Clarence. Tell me this. If Jesus had children whilst he was among us, would he send them to Herod's school?
Would he have sent them to Herod's school?
Yes.
I doubt it.
So therefore, We can't have families and our mark of success is just to send our children in the name of God to the devil's schools
Mm.
But
and
that,
partake of his civilization.
but you're precisely right. So we have a constant battle. We have our children going into, like I say, Herod school, and then we have got to set certain principles at home, which is contrary to what they're teaching them within the schools.
But my view is this. My view is that we don't send our children to the devil's school, period. So if I love my woman, okay, one of the signs of my love is if she is going to reproduce me, then I want me reproduced in God's school, not the devil's school, because you can't reproduce me if I'm a God-fearing man in the devil's school.
Mm.
You can only reproduce the worst part of me prior to me coming into the knowledge of who God is.
Well, you
That's
see,
not love.
you're absolutely correct. Let me tell you, my daughter, my first daughter, has 6 children. And she took exactly that stand.
Right.
And she schooled all her children at home because she refused to send them to the devil's school.
That's a God-fearing woman.
You know, she refused to. And she schooled them all at home and she brought them up with certain principles. The only time they left home was when it came to them taking the exams.
Right.
She needed to send them into college to take the exams.
Right. That's a wonderful.
You know? But she took that firm principle. And many people disagreed with her, but she was firm on that principle.
Fantastic. So Captain Dennis, to my point, in regards to showing your love, if you really love a woman, and in preparing ourselves to be men who are worthy of a woman, do we not need to build a society and be men of consequence?
Man, Brother Minister, you hit the nail right on the head. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, no, I heard the minister say this, but it's from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, if we did not know who God is, we will worship the woman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how powerful she is.
Right.
My brother Clarence made it very good. What is the purpose of marriage? Right. You absolutely right, Brother Minister Hakeem. You know, the whole purpose is to make sure that she brings out for you children that not only will reflect you, but children that will help bring into fruition ideas that's going to take generations to achieve.
Right.
And your children will build on that, those ideas. But you can't put your children, and I like what you said to Brother Clarence. No, because if Jesus put his children in Herod school, then Herod going to knock Jesus. Herod going to talk about Jesus. Herod going to talk about himself. It's the same way that we put our children into the European school. They're not going to teach us who we are. They have a constant fear that once we know who we are and what they did to us, we would rise up and rebel. So no. So you're not going to be taught how to love yourself, about the great contribution that Black people made to history. Would tell us that. But take your children and put them in your own school. The Jews will never put their kids in the German school. We're the only people that would put our children in the hands of our captives.
Right.
That don't make sense.
So therefore,
what's wrong with us having our own school?
Is this a sign of our lack of love for our women and ourselves and our future if we are not building a nation for ourselves? I was speaking to a brother today, one of my brothers, a young brother, and I was saying to him, you know, if we as men, you know, refuse to offer our women a strong male example and our children, and we just want, you know, women to be the mother of our children, and we don't want to accept the responsibility of rearing our children, you know, then we're actually the ones who are responsible for our young men becoming gay and our women, young girls, becoming lesbians, okay? Because when a young man is born into a household and there's no male presence there, there's no real masculine energy there, and he's a young boy and he may have 2 sisters, then he's around 3 women every day, okay?
Yes.
Every day. And the mere fact that he's around 3 women every day, then he's going shopping in girls' stores than he is in male stores, okay? And then you add up all of the female feminine exposure that a young boy has. He's in the kitchen, you know, he's everywhere where feminine energy is. Mm-hmm. And if that boy has an inclination towards wanting to be a woman now or a girl now, we can't say we're going to disown our children. We as men have to take responsibility that I made a homosexual out of my son by not sacrificing my time to ensure that he is exposed to what a man, what a male is. You follow with me?
Yeah. You hear that point you just make, my brother? That is such a valid point. You see our young men that are killing each other on the streets right now, fighting each other, no tolerance. Mm-hmm. That is a result of our family homes being destroyed and totally destroyed. Now, I came to England in the 60s as a young man. My mother and father was married. Now, my great-grandmother, who I knew, came out of slavery. So slavery hadn't ended so long ago.
Right.
Right? Now, my parents were the first to be married within that family structure. So they started building a family structure. I came to England within a family structure. I grew up within a family structure, like many of us did. But within 1 generation, 2 generations, that structure has been decimated. Young men are leaving home, unmarried, having children out of wedlock, all over the place. Children are in homes, 2 children by different fathers, having different philosophies, and all manner of confusion, which has caused the breakdown of the Black family. And what we're seeing on the street today is a result of those catastrophes.
Go ahead, Brother Clan. Let me say this, Brother Minister.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I love this. Boy, now I really was feeling pretty bad, Brother Minister, when I was getting ready to come on, but you got me on geek mode. Now check this out, Brother Minister. Now, for you to have these sisters on here and they're listening, it's almost like what Jawanta Kunjufu, the Black child psychologist, said. He said, Black mothers raise their daughters, but they love their boys. Mm-hmm. That is a reality that we're facing especially in America. Mm-hmm. As Brother Clarence was saying, and you were saying, Brother Minister, they're in the presence of females. And so therefore, he don't have a man in here as an example. So he's constantly, that's why today you go on social media, these brothers gossiping like women. Yeah. They gossiping like women. And they're not trying. And when Dr. Wesley talked about the weed, which is now being legalized, in the weed, he called it transgender benders. He said gender benders, meaning that even in the weed, it takes away the aggressiveness of the man. So those brothers that smoking that weed, they ain't trying to fight. They ain't trying to protest. That weed don't want to make them do nothing but lay back and yell, man, look at that stuff on TV, baby. They're not going to fight if the lights was out. So they are no longer aggressive because they're taking a drug in the weed, the THC, that take away the masculinity. In the meantime, it makes the woman, it does the opposite when the woman smokes the weed. She don't get laid back and get real feminine. She get to smoking the weed and she start wearing sneakers and jogging outfit. Her haircut look like my haircut. She began to get that swag, and after before you know it, man, she had changed. Because why? There are certain chemicals and certain realities of people have a conspiracy. And we could talk about it if we want to. Is this being done systematically? Is there a real conspiracy to destroy Black boys? I believe so. And as Clarence said, it is the destruction of the Black family. Because look at the violence. Right now, Brother Minister, these young boys out there, this is the word. They don't care what you know. They want to know that you care. And Mr. Muhammad taught us that the difference between a man and a boy is that a boy runs from responsibility while a man runs to responsibility. Right. So being a male don't make you a man. Mm-hmm. Look here, all men, all males are not necessarily men, but all men are males. I'm gonna say it again. All males are not necessarily men, but all men are males. Yeah. We have to be very clear, because he's a male, that don't mean he's a man. We got the training that helps us. Man, look here, I wasn't always like this. I didn't always see women the way I see women. I got to be honest. It was the training of the FOI, man. I've been in the nation for 52 years. You're looking at Captain D, man. You're looking at a man that he evolved to become the man I am. But God ain't through with me yet. Right. I'm still evolving. My wife evolving. But I am dedicated. The minister did his thing, Brother Hakeem, and you know it. He asked for 10,000 fearless men. Didn't he ask for that? He did. I did the minister call for 10,000 fearless men. Lord him, right? You know why? Because that's what we're going to need to get our community back together again. You can't be afraid to confront oppression. You can't be afraid to confront the devil if you're a religious Christian or Muslim. Now you are bringing what we call the kind of conversation that could change the course that some of the people on this line on. I know they're going to change their course. I'm going to change. I like what Clarence said. And I take what he said. I'm not going to sit here and act like he didn't give me nothing that I already knew. No. We have to recognize the value of each other and what we bring to the table. The brilliance, Brother Minister, to have the sisters on. Because they know what they want. They know what we fall short at. And we need to hear that as men. Because we think being a man is sagging. Because, you know, we call sagging in America, sagging is fagging. Don't get mad at me. That's what they say. Sagging is fagging. Don't call me, get cap me. That's what they say. All right. But the bottom line is, we got a different perception. Because why? Every day, our young people looking at the rappers. These guys walking around, man, come on. We don't have a positive image as much as we can. And the nation is good. But the nation is good, but we got to go beyond putting the papers out there. We got to get involved in these programs and create programs and bring them to our training. They're not going to come just to, to stop drinking and smoking, but we can create the kind of programs that we work together with Brother Clarence and the Christians, and we, the Muslims and the Christians. The Christians admire us. They know we got a discipline. Their churches are full of old women. They ain't got no men. They look in the nation, they look over and say, man, look at the name, man, they got a number of men over there. But let's do a swap. Let's learn what you can offer and what we can offer, and don't let the enemy come between us too, and let us build a community for ourselves, but let's build the man again. And in the proper, and like what we doing, the male and female relationship and communication, that is key. And man, I love this, brother. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take so long. Hey, bro, minister, that new blood pressure medicine that got me off.
So as we wind down, I really just want to bring a point on the importance of us accepting the fact that if our community is such that we have this massive imbalance, then is it not almost incumbent upon all of us as males, Clarence, who are single males, to take responsibility for a family?
It is our responsibility, but we cannot take the responsibility if we are drowned by the ways of the world, because the ways of the world only leads us to corruption. We have to turn away.
We have to start somewhere, right? So where is our starting point then?
There's only one starting point. We look to God.
Okay, but many of us have different perspectives and view of God, because I see God as man and man as God, right? Because he made us his image and likeness, right? So if I'm going to look to God, I have to look within myself first and foremost. Because no matter where I look around, I ain't finding no God as close as if I look in the mirror, right? So
No,
if,
that is correct. So
right,
then what are the values that
right.
you,
So where do I
that
start?
first start by understanding yourself as a man and what your role as a man should be in this world.
Right. Right.
And if you understand your role as a man and as head of your family structure, then you're starting from a very good place. Because if you start from that perspective, then you will build the principles that you want your children to follow.
Right. So what do we say then about men who are desirous of having everything perfect before they enter into a relationship? Well, I got to do, but in the meantime, we're going to ramp. But before we say, okay, I'm going to commit myself, well, I'm not ready yet. And many seems like they will never get ready in this life. What would you say is the fundamental basic elements that we need to have engaged or in place in order to take responsibility for securing a household that may be one of our brothers abandoned?
Well, if I base it on my experience, I would say that everything can never be perfect in the beginning.
Right.
Perfection is something that grows and you build together.
Right, right. Okay, so how important, Captain Dennis, or let me say this to yourself as Sister Tara, Sister Sylvina, how important is it to have an extended family, if you will, like real family, to help you in areas when a relationship is not going 100% correct? You know, how important is it to always have some stable minds who's able or who have the ability to give guidance where maybe, you know, those concerned may be suffering from bankruptcy?
I think
Go ahead. Let the win. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sister.
I think what's the proverb? It takes a village to raise a child. It's very important to have extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles. It's very important to have some responsible male role models available. If you're a single mom, you have to have that so that they can help you rear your children. A woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. That's just not possible. So we have to have that extended family, friends, a good cohort of people that we trust, that we can go to and lean on. But people have to be willing to do that. I think we find today everybody is kind of like only worried about themselves. They have their little bubble, their family. That's all they're worried about. And I think that's where the breakdown comes. I think we aren't really thinking about the community as a whole. We're thinking about us as individuals, or just as long as our family is good, we're fine. We don't think about the extended community, not realizing that when we send our children out into the extended community, and that's when things go wrong, because other people aren't being raised the same way.
Right.
So,
And you're absolutely right, my sister. You see, when I got married, I married my wife, but her mother became my mother and her father became my father, and my family grew.
Very good. So, Sister Sylvina.
I would say it is important, but what's equally as important is that you use whatever extended family you have wisely and are open and honest with them, because a lot of the time, you know, you can have people, if you're, just like what I was saying earlier about these red flags, sometimes you may want to be withholding because you don't want the open and honest advice that would actually remedy some of what you're going through. So sometimes things are filtered, not for protection, because you don't want people to really, those that genuinely care about you, to see what the real deal is. So I would just say it's important, but it's also important that if you want that support, that you actually furnish them with the honest information that they can offer you the support that you need, not based upon a smoke screen that you put up, because that happens a lot. And also with regards to perhaps having you know, your priorities as straight as they can be, so that you're asking for the right type of support to use in the right places.
Okay, very good. So, Captain Dennis?
Yes, sir. I think, Brother Minister, and I like the question. No question that we have to have an extended family community. I'm an uncle. I'm an uncle to every FOI that I've trained over the 40 years.
Yes,
They
sir.
call me Uncle D. But I have to be the father to that young man who lost his father. They call them today mentors.
Yes.
We call them in the streets, they call them Unc. When you hear a young man call you Unc, that's endearment. That's terms of endearment. He's seeing you as an uncle, and you know in our lessons, we was referred to by Master Prophet Muhammad as an uncle.
Right.
But why is uncle so important?
Right.
Because if any one of us know, has been everything that I've really learned, good and bad, my uncle taught me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uncle is great influence. Why? Because Pop is very strict. Pop,
Right.
he's gonna put on you a certain criteria requirement that you find it difficult to meet. But Unc, he cool in the game.
Right.
He understands, he has patience. So we become uncles. That's the extended family. Now let me put this out there because this is where we at today in the world. We talking about another extended family. Now, everybody said, well, you know, the Muslims believe in polygamy.
Right.
Now, that's a controversial kind of conversation because we got a twisted view of what polygamy is based upon how the world show us polygamy.
Yes.
But according to us being as Muslims, there come a time under certain conditions, am I right, brother man? You're a Quranic man, where polygamy is permitted. But the key word, under certain conditions. But Brother Minister Hakeem, could you explain to us what those conditions are?
Well, those general conditions are when a nation or a society is at war and the male species is decimated and the believing women, the upright women, do not have a male standard bearer in their lives because the male standard bearer has lost his life in the cause of establishing the kingdom of God here on earth. So the strong males are generally required to take care of their brothers' homes who have lost their life in battle or lost their lives in war as a result of sacrificing their precious life for the establishment of God's kingdom here on earth. So the inclination is mainly the maintenance of the children and the provision of the women so that they do not have to go back into the society that they were taken out of to go back into the society for provision. Because once they go back into the society after being reared or raised out of the society, then they will look towards a man who don't believe in what they believe. And then they go right back into the madness and then their children follow right behind them. So that's generally the
man, brother minister, think, man, you see, now you just educated all of it. Now, let me just go, reason why I asked that question. Now, the ranks of the man is decimated because 70% of the men are in prisons. And if you look at the condition, 70% of the homes is absent of a male figure. Right. So now there's a condition. Now, our women would never accept polygamy. But however, she already have accepted, don't know it because that's the side chick.
Yes.
The side chick. All right, y'all know it. That's the side chick. He already got a side piece. You don't know nothing about it unless you get his phone and go through his phone. But he's already got it, and she have already accepted him being married.
Yes.
To death.
Right.
The women want a married man. Because at least I know he's working. Hey, so she ain't you, man. But here, look what happens. Soon as the sisters find out that this Negro has been seeing the girl on the other side of town for some years or whatever, she get rid of him, and who wins? The side chick.
Right.
The side chick got all of them. She riding well. You still got the babies all on. Nigga, take care of your heart. Shut up, woman. I give it when you get it when I get it. So the family is destroyed.
We appreciate you segueing into the reality of the conditions of our community as we currently live. And we appreciate that perspective. And it introduces a dynamic that our work is so enormous that the one thing we can't do, and it goes back to the original point, and we'll pick this up next week, okay? Because we're going to introduce the dynamic of the preparation of the woman for a successful relationship. But what I wanted to just close on today and really lay pressure on every male's mind who is listening to the sound of my voice and listen to the voice of all of those who have spoken this evening. You are committing an act of treason by staying single and not securing one of our sisters and their families. You cannot continue to not participate in the strengthening and the balancing of our community so that we may stabilize in this time of this secret war taking place that has now become overt. You cannot stand around and just allow our women and our children to remain by themselves without cover. And as Captain Dennis said, without being providers, protectors, maintainers, sustainers, and being responsible. So be on notice that we must be a part of the solution as opposed to watching the problem and just taking out our phones and recording devastation or murder of our nation and murder of our community taking place. All right. So with that said, I want to thank special guest Clarence. Let's give him a big round of applause. Let's thank special guest Captain Dennis, who at such short notice just jumped on today. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Clarence. Thank you, Brother Dennis.
Okay.
So just closing remarks, Sister Tara, Sister Sylvina, what would you like to leave with our audiences as we close?
I would like to leave the fact that we've just opened up this conversation. It's clear and evident that there's a lot to be covered, and it really is a conversation that could run for another 12 months. So dynamics to it. So I would encourage you to stay with us, to bring someone along with you next week, and to make sure that you carve out this time each and every Thursday to devote to yourself and your development and improvement.
Fantastic. Sister Tara?
I second that. You know, I'm not speechless. I will say thank you, Captain Dennis and Elder Clarence. You did touch on some things that I already had in my mind, but I'm ready to dive deeper into this conversation because it really is something that we need to be addressing and educating the community on so that we can, you know, just build a better future for all of us.
Fantastic. Closing remarks, Brother Clarence?
Our family, our brothers' children are our children. Our sisters' children are our children. So that is the fullness of a family.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Closing remarks, Captain Dennis?
Thank you so much, Brother Minister Hakeem. Man, you have made my day. Everybody on this line, thank you, sisters. If you would have me on next week, I'll be honored, Brother Minister, to be on next week. I like this kind of conversation, you know. And I'll be back, y'all, if y'all have me back. And let me tell you, UK, you know I miss y'all, London, England. You know I miss you. I didn't want to get into all that, start crying, but you know I miss y'all. Thank you, Brother Minister Hakeem. Thank you, Brother Clarence. I appreciate you. Maybe one day, God will, I hope to meet you, my dear brother, and my elder. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain Dennis. Also, Brother Clarence, Sister Tara, Sister Sylvina, we thank you all